Jumbo, everyone. I learned that word when I was 15 years old. It means hello in Swahili. You see, growing up, I was heavily involved in the church life. I wanted to make a difference wherever I could. One year, we had our evangelist who would come year after year looking for donations so that he could go on his yearly mission trips. Well, this year, I decided to volunteer. I know, my parents were just as shocked, mainly because they were going to have to fork up $1,500 for me to go. In the end, though, I ended up having a couple bake sales and a yard sale, and I ended up raising enough money to where my parents didn't have to pay for it out of pocket. As incredible as that is, it gets a lot better. So the mission trip ended up being in Africa, halfway across the world. I was 15, never been out of the country. What was I thinking? I was scared, to say the least. So after about 20 hours in the air, we finally landed in Africa. And all I remember is walking out to our car, and there are soldiers lined up along the path with their machine guns. I guess that was the standard protocol back then. As a 15-year-old, though, I didn't know that. I would just remember being petrified. Well, we ended up making it to our destination. It's a little village known as Eldoret in Nairobi, Kenya. Our main mission for that trip was to complete and rebuild an orphanage, repaint a church, and minister to the children and people of the village. Of that village, we met one family in particular who was our host family. They ended up letting us stay in their home so that we could live comfortably for that week that we were there. Ezra was the husband, his wife was Mary, and their daughter was named Sarah. I remember Sarah at that time because that's my mom's name. So it was close to my heart. Well, me and Sarah immediately hit it off. We were the same age. We hung out that entire week. We talked about life goals, our classes, all sorts of things. We immediately became friends. So after I came back to the States, we kept in contact. We would write to each other, and it lasted for about 3 years or so. I ended up graduating high school, going to college, and we just kind of lost contact. Well, about 8 years ago, my dad ended up having a heart attack. So he now has to meet up with his cardiologist, for regular checkups. About 4 years ago, my dad goes for his, regular checkup, and the nurse walks in to take his vitals, and he notices she has an accent. So he asks, if you don't mind me asking, where are you from? And she replies, oh, it's a tiny little village in Nairobi known as Eldoret. Well, my dad, light bulb goes off and is like, oh, well, my son did a mission trip there about 10 years ago, and he loved it there. And she said, oh, I was in the village about 10 years ago. What's his name? So my dad shows her a picture of me, and she remembers. It was Sarah, of all people. She is now living in the US, working as a nurse, living her dream. We got back into contact, and we still communicate to this day. One of the most incredible things in life is to know that you made an impact on someone else's life. I don't know what is more awesome than to know that.